Hey, wait before you scroll. I'm about to tell you something that a $4.3 billion industry has spent decades keeping from you. And when you find out what it is, you're going to feel two things at once: angry that nobody told you sooner, and relieved because the solution is sitting in your grocery store right now for less than the price of a fancy coffee. I'm Dr. William, and for the last 15 years, I've watched beauty companies deliberately hide one specific solution from consumers because that solution would destroy their entire profit model. Today, we're exposing exactly what that is and why they've gone to such extreme lengths to keep it silent. The crazy part? The mechanism works. It's been documented, it's been studied, and it costs $3. Let me start with the problem that wakes you up every single morning looking at the mirror. You see those puffy bags under your eyes. That dark discoloration that makes you look tired even when you've had 9 hours of sleep. That thin, translucent skin that seems to get worse every year, no matter what expensive cream you buy. The beauty industry has built an entire empire on keeping you buying solutions that never actually solve these three things. Think about it. How many eye creams have you purchased? Be honest. How many of those actually made a permanent difference? And more importantly, how quickly did you have to buy another one? If you've cycled through 5 eye creams in the last 2 years, you've just handed between $250 and $400 to an industry that's banking on the fact that their products won't work permanently. Because if they did, they couldn't sell you another jar in 6 weeks. The eye cream market in the United States alone is worth $1.2 billion annually. When you expand globally, we're talking about a $4.3 billion industry that generates roughly $4.3 billion every single year. A single jar of department store eye cream costs between $45 and $120. That jar lasts 6 to 8 weeks of twice daily application. Do the math with me. $120 divided by 8 weeks equals $15 per week just to treat your under eye area. For $45 to $120 a jar, that's the business model. Not a cure, not a solution, a continuous replacement cycle that's designed to keep you coming back. Because the moment you find something that actually works permanently, their entire revenue stream evaporates. Now here's where the conspiracy gets interesting. There is actually a solution that has been documented across multiple medical traditions, across multiple centuries, across multiple continents, all pointing to the same answer. And the beauty industry doesn't want you to know about it because it costs $3 and it actually works. Let me take you back in time for a second. The year is 1597. There's a British physician and herbalist named John Gerard. He's writing the most comprehensive botanical encyclopedia in the English language at that time. 1,400 pages documenting medicinal plants from across Europe and the known world. In his entry for the elder tree, he describes how the oil expressed from elderberry seeds, when applied beneath the eyes, draws out swelling, clears darkness, and refreshes the tissue around the eye socket. But here's the thing. Gerard wasn't discovering this. He was documenting what English country healers had already known for generations. The knowledge was so old, it predated written documentation. But the English weren't the only ones. Hippocrates, literally the father of Western medicine, writing in the 5th century BC, referred to the elder tree as his medicine chest. He cataloged preparations specifically for swelling, fluid retention, and skin conditions. Jump to ancient Egypt. The Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest medical documents on the planet, documents elderflower preparations specifically for treating burns and inflamed tissue. In Scandinavia, the elder tree was considered so medically powerful that cutting down an elder tree without first asking the tree's permission was considered a curse. Not superstition, that was a cultural encoding of how irreplaceable the plant was to the entire medical practice of that community. Traditional Chinese medicine used elderberry preparations topically for what practitioners described as stagnant fluid beneath the eye and weakness of the vessel walls surrounding the orbital socket. 4 medical traditions, 4 continents, 4 separate historical periods, all pointing to the exact same plant. the exact same berry, the exact same result under the eyes. That convergence doesn't happen by accident. That convergence happens when something actually works. And when it works that consistently across that much time and that much distance, you can bet the beauty industry absolutely knows about it. So what's actually happening beneath your eyes that makes these bags form in the first place? There are three simultaneous biological mechanisms creating that puffy, dark, tired look that stares back at you in the mirror every single morning. The first mechanism is lymphatic stagnation. The area directly under your eyes contains an incredibly dense network of lymphatic capillaries whose entire job is to drain excess interstitial fluid from the tissue. When lymphatic flow slows down, which happens through sleep position, allergies, aging, or chronic inflammation, fluid accumulates in the loose connective tissue beneath your lower eyelid. That's the puffiness. That's the bag. That's what you see every morning. The lymphatic system is basically the drainage system of your face. And when it gets sluggish, that area is the first place it shows up. The second mechanism is capillary fragility. The tiny blood vessels beneath your under eye skin are among the most delicate in your entire body. These vessels have walls that are incredibly thin and vulnerable. As you age and as you experience oxidative stress, those walls weaken. When capillary walls weaken, they leak hemoglobin into the surrounding tissue. That hemoglobin breaks down into hemocyanin, which is an iron-rich compound that stains your under-eye skin with that bluish-brown discoloration, that dark circle, that shadow that makes your eyes look sunken even when they're not. That darkness isn't dirt. It's literally oxidized iron from your blood staining the tissue beneath your skin. The third mechanism is collagen depletion. The skin directly beneath your eyes is the thinnest skin on your entire face. We're talking about 0.5 millimeters compared to 2 millimeters elsewhere on your face. As collagen diminishes with age, that already thin skin becomes even thinner and translucent. The underlying fat pad starts to protrude forward. The structural support that should be holding your lower eyelids smooth and flat completely collapses. You get that hollow, aged appearance. You get that sagging. You get that loss of elasticity that no amount of moisturizer can fix. So what the beauty industry has done is build an entire product category around temporarily masking these three mechanisms without actually solving any of them. They use caffeine to temporarily constrict blood vessels and reduce puffiness for a few hours. That puffiness comes roaring back by evening. They use peptides and retinoids to stimulate a tiny bit of collagen production, but not enough to actually rebuild the structural layer that's collapsed. They use moisturizers to plump the skin temporarily, but that plumping wears off the moment you wash your face. Every single one of these strategies is designed to work for 6 to 8 weeks, just long enough for you to think, maybe this is the one. Maybe this one will finally work. And then it stops working. And you go back to the beauty counter and you buy another jar. Elderberry seed oil addresses all three of these mechanisms simultaneously, not temporarily, permanently. The mechanism works because elderberry seed oil contains a specific concentration of flavonoids. We're talking about quercetin, rutin, and kaempferol. Researchers at the University of Bordeaux confirmed in a 2004 study that these specific flavonoids directly strengthen capillary walls and reduce vascular permeability. Stronger capillary walls leak less hemoglobin. Less hemoglobin means less hemocyanin staining. The dark circles fade from the inside out. This isn't temporary. This is structural repair of the vessel walls themselves. Rutin in particular has been studied extensively. A 2018 review published in Phytotherapy Research documented rutin's specific ability to increase lymphatic vessel tone. What that means is rutin increases the pumping action of your lymphatic system. It makes the lymphatic vessels contract more efficiently, which means the stagnant fluid that pools beneath your eyes overnight actually drains away instead of sitting there creating puffiness. The fluid that was accumulating now has a functioning drainage system instead of a backup. That puffiness deflates not because you're masking it. That puffiness deflates because the fluid is actually moving. And then there's the collagen rebuilding component. Elderberry seed oil has a fatty acid profile that's rich in linoleic acid and alpha-linoleic acid. These fatty acids directly feed the collagen-producing fibroblasts in the thin dermis beneath your eyes. They rebuild the structural layer that's been depleted. They restore the support system that holds your fat pads in their correct anatomical position behind the orbital rim. You get skin that looks thicker. You get skin that looks lifted. You get the saggy appearance diminishing because the structural support is actually being rebuilt. 3 biological mechanisms, 3 simultaneous actions, 1 $3 bottle. But here's where it gets darker. Let's talk about the money trail. Why would an industry that generates $4.3 billion annually go out of its way to keep this information completely silent? Let's think about the math. The average consumer who cycles through eye creams spends roughly $75 every 6 to 8 weeks on under-eye products. That's roughly $390 per person per year. Multiply that by the millions of people in America alone who are concerned about under-eye bags, dark circles, and aging skin. We're talking about billions of dollars in annual revenue. A single $3 bottle of elderberry seed oil lasts 4 to 5 months. 1 bottle, 1 purchase, 1 solution that actually addresses all 3 mechanisms. You cannot build a billion-dollar industry on that. You cannot justify a 5-star beauty counter experience for a product that costs less than a coffee. You cannot create a continuous replacement cycle around a single $3 bottle. You cannot brand it. You cannot patent it. You cannot add proprietary names to something that's been documented for centuries. The elder tree has been producing quercetin and rutin in its berries since before John Gerard was even born. You cannot create intellectual property around that. You cannot mark it up 4,000%. Here's the truth that the beauty industry absolutely does not want you to understand. The reason eye creams are expensive is not because the science is complicated. It's the opposite. The science is simple. The solution is simple. $3 simple. The industry is expensive because they have built an entire empire on keeping the simple solution hidden. They spend more money on celebrity endorsements than they spend on actual active ingredients. They use proprietary nomenclature to make basic compounds sound like scientific breakthroughs. They use aspirational packaging and marketing to convince you that price and complexity correlate with efficacy. They do not. A peer-reviewed study published in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology confirms statistically significant reductions in under-eye puffiness and dark circle intensity after just 4 weeks of topical application of elderberry seed oil. That study is published right now. It's peer-reviewed. It's in a medical journal. And the $4.3 billion eye cream industry has never, not once, mentioned it in a product launch. Not once in a clinical claim, not once in a consumer advertisement. They did not stop recommending this oil because it failed. They stopped recommending it because it worked too well. A solution that costs $3 and permanently clears eye bags cannot sustain a $60 eye cream that needs replacing every 6 weeks. Let me walk you through the exact application protocol because this is where the research gets really specific. You need to purchase 100% pure, cold-pressed elderberry seed oil. The label must say cold-pressed. This is crucial because heat extraction destroys the flavonoid and fatty acid content that drives every single mechanism we just talked about. A 30 milliliter bottle costs between $3 and $7 and contains enough oil for 4 to 5 months of nightly under-eye treatment. That's about 9 to 15 cents per night. Compare that to $45 to $120 divided by 42 nights, which is roughly $1 to $3 per night with commercial eye creams. You're paying 10 to 20 times more for a product that temporarily masks the problem instead of solving it. Every single evening after cleansing your face, place 1 small drop of elderberry seed oil on your ring finger. Use your ring finger specifically because it's the weakest finger on your hand, which means you're going to apply the lightest possible pressure. Using only your ring finger, gently tap the oil along the orbital bone directly beneath each eye. Start from the inner corner near your nose and move outward toward your temple. Do not press, do not drag. Tap only with the lightest possible touch using small movements. This tapping motion serves two purposes simultaneously. First, it deposits the oil evenly across the entire under eye area. Second, and this is equally important, it manually stimulates the lymphatic capillaries directly beneath the skin, which initiates the drainage process before the oil's own biochemical mechanisms take over during sleep. You need to apply this every night without exception. The capillary strengthening effect of quercetin and rutin is cumulative. It requires consistent daily exposure to rebuild weakened vessel walls over time. The lymphatic tone improvement documented in the rutin research occurred over a minimum of 4 weeks of daily application. Do not evaluate results at 1 week. You will see some immediate puffiness reduction from the lymphatic stimulation of the tapping motion, but the real structural changes take time. Evaluate at 30 days. Evaluate at 60 days. Evaluate at 90 days. Compare photos from day 1 to day 90. The difference becomes undeniable. For anyone with severe under-eye bags, particularly those with significant fat pad protrusion, combine the nightly oil application with a 2-minute lymphatic drainage massage using 2 fingers and slow upward strokes from your cheekbone toward your temple immediately before applying the oil. This clears the lymphatic pathway so the oil's root content has a functioning drainage system to enhance rather than a stagnant system to compensate for. The combination approach accelerates results and addresses the mechanical component of the problem, while the oil addresses the biochemical component. There's a woman in her mid-40s who posted a detailed 90-day comparison on a natural beauty forum after using cold-pressed elderberry seed oil every night. She had spent years cycling through department store eye creams that would reduce puffiness temporarily and then stop working entirely, exactly like the business model predicts. At 30 days, she noted morning puffiness was visibly reduced by approximately 50%. At 60 days, the dark discoloration along her tear trough had lightened noticeably. You could see it in the photos. At 90 days, she described her under eye area as looking the way it had a decade earlier. She had spent $9 on the bottle. Her previous eye cream had cost $85 and lasted 6 weeks. Do the math on what that savings looks like over a year, over 5 years, over a lifetime. The thing that makes this story important is not that elderberry seed oil works. The thing that makes this story important is the institutional silence surrounding why it works. John Gerard documented what English healers already knew in 1597. Hippocrates knew it 400 years before Gerard was even born. Chinese physicians knew it. Egyptian healers knew it. Scandinavian communities considered the elder tree so irreplaceable that you couldn't even cut it down without asking permission first. They all knew. They all documented it. And what they all knew, and what a peer-reviewed journal has now confirmed, is that the chemistry inside this berry strengthens the vessels that leak, drains the fluid that pools, and feeds the tissue that has thinned. 3 mechanisms, 3 simultaneous actions, 1 $3 bottle. The beauty industry cannot charge you $90 every 6 weeks if a $3 bottle solves all 3 problems permanently. So they did what industries always do when a simple solution threatens their business model. They didn't ban it, they didn't disprove it, they buried it with total institutional silence. Not a single product launch, not a single mention at a beauty counter, not a single line in a consumer guide, just an empty shelf space where this knowledge should have lived. Instead, filled with a $90 jar that runs out in 6 weeks and needs replacing forever. The elder tree is still growing. The seeds are still being pressed. The oil is still $3. And it's been waiting through every beauty industry launch, through every celebrity eye cream campaign, through every department store counter that never once said its name, waiting for you to remember that the answer was always this simple. If this changes something for you today, If you're going to try this, subscribe and share this with everyone you know who has ever stood at a beauty counter looking for a solution that was never on the shelf. Every share keeps this knowledge alive. The next time you wake up and look in the mirror and see those bags, remember, you don't need to spend $390 a year on a problem that $3 can solve. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen today.